1015 FM, 720 AM. KDON, the talk of Las Vegas.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Las Vegas. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. 1 full hour of wrestling news, entertainment, and lots of Sin City surprises from inside the squared circle. Now, let's bring on the host. Here is Mark Hoke.
As God is my witness, he's broken in half. There's my yell.
That's the way to start a show.
Fish got me going in here. He did it. I wasn't feeling super peppy today, but we'll see if that music's going to fade out, Picasso. Picasso's pumped up in there, too, our producer. Dropping the elbow, man. He's got some guns.
Sun's out, guns out, baby.
Yeah, I don't know about that. He's got too much of a reflection on the top there. Anyway, wow, he looks good though. A lot of guys look good bald. My hair. I need a haircut, by the way.
No, I need a haircut.
No, you don't understand. This is the longest I've let my hair get.
Yeah, hippie.
Good Lord,
you look like Dude Love.
Well, yeah, because see, I'm cursed with the curl. Right. One of the best things I ever did was I moved out to Las Vegas because all the waves and everything disappeared in my hair. Because there's no humidity out here. But if I let it grow, it doesn't, I don't get to look like a mullet kind of guy. I get to look like Mick Foley, roll out of bed. I just got destroyed.
You already look like Mick Foley, so there you go.
Wow.
As God is my witness, he's broken in half.
Oh, Jiminy Christmas. I'm Mark Hoke. Thanks for being with us here on the Mark Hoke Show. And your Fish Fain sporting the Pirates jersey today.
It's Roberto Clemente, baby.
Yeah. Thank God you got something that's successful on that jersey.
Hey, I'm not knocking it.
I know. Fish has an incredible roster of sports jerseys, so we can't fault him on that. Also on the line, the king, the master,
the genius.
He is the amazing Lord of future stars of wrestling, Joe DeFalco, coming off a big show on Friday. Big Joe, what's up?
Just relaxing a little, having a day off yesterday pretty much after a big show that we have. And I do have my Earl Campbell, and probably today I'll be wearing my old school Doug Flutie jersey. So.
Doug Flutie, now is this a Buffalo Bills Doug Flutie jersey or?
Being the biggest Doug Flutie fan, I have a Buffalo Bills, I have a San Diego Chargers, and more importantly, I have a New Jersey Generals.
There we go. Okay. And
there it is.
Are you going to have a bowl of Flutie Flakes?
That I didn't like.
Oh, wow. God, guys, we're getting old, but we're fun.
Yeah, but
and we have the great pop culture references for 30, 40 plus years. So we got a good space to dip into.
There's a lot of space to dip into.
Oh. Yeah. Well, speaking of space to dip into, another busy week of wrestling. Of course, that's what we talk about on here. We don't babble about what we're wearing or our hairstyles right now. At least we shouldn't be, but it is kind of fun. Boy, where to begin on this week? Yeah, let's go to AEW first. We will talk about the Grand Slam show. And, of course, the match that everyone is talking about. Holy cow, Kenny Omega, Bryan Danielson tear down the house on Wednesday night. And Fish, you watched it.
I did. I watched the match. It was an absolutely brilliant match. I mean, it's one of those 5-star matches, and it really was brilliant. I am still not a huge fan of the ending, but, I understand why they had to do it.
Joe, did you get to watch that match?
I did not, but I think I know why they did that ending, because hopefully they aren't like WCW and give away those matches on regular television.
Yeah, but I thought without the championship being on the line, they could have put Bryan Danielson over Kenny Omega in that one match for his first match back, and that sets up Omega going, not only trying to keep the title, but going for revenge, and Bryan Danielson has now a right to say, hey, I want the title. I beat you once without it.
Yeah, but first off, I hate the philosophy of having these non-title matches, and the way you get your opportunity to get a title match is by beating the champion. I'd rather you, rise the ranks and actually beat other people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Earn yourself a title spot. So I don't. You know what? It's keeping Omega strong. It's like he doesn't need to lose some random match that didn't really mean anything if it's non-title.
Yeah, and coming off the loss to Christian too for the Impact title, that could have really hurt Kenny if he lost that. That match.
I will say the match.
Really, how good is he? He's 50. He lost to some 50-year-old guy. Come on.
The match was absolutely brilliant, though.
Yeah, unbelievable, and that crowd at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Woo, baby,
they were hot.
Oh, they were hot, and it was hot the rest of the night too. As of course they had taped Rampage, so that a lot of that, half the card aired on Friday night. But what else did we have there? We had MJF, Brian Pillman. Joe, I'm curious, what is your opinion about Brian Pillman's wrestling right now?
I like Brian. He's a super cool dude, but everybody has a place, and everybody's not going to give you Bryan Danielson against Kenny Omega, and everybody has a role, and it's finding that role. And I think he did in the tag team, but I think with his name value and stuff like that, I think they, with MJF going over, I'm not sure where they go. It was just a one-off feud, but it seems like with the promo that MJF cut, they could have did something a little bit more with it, in my opinion.
And one thing that when I watched that match, I think Brian is still trying to find a style. It seems like he's going to go power, and then he does some aerial stuff, and I don't think he's quite found it yet. He's getting there.
I think some of it, but I think some of it is he think in his head, rightly or wrongly, he thinks certain things are expected of him because he's Brian Pillman's kid. Versus saying this is my style. He's like, oh, they expect me to do this and this and this because Brian Pillman was my dad, so I need to be able to do some of that stuff, whether he should or shouldn't.
Yeah, he'll get there. I mean, he seemed he's got all the tools.
Yeah.
So, in all honesty, if he wasn't Brian Pillman's kid, he wouldn't be in the position he's in. Because he is he's still pretty green in the business.
Yes.
And even when he was getting, some good bookings and things like that, he was still in training. He was still going to Sami Callihan's to train in different places. And, he was way behind the eight ball when it came to, being a wrestler and being what you need in 2021, you're not going to get a Matt Classic out of him for sure. But, he's built up enough of a character and the gimmick and being the kid that he gets placed in a good spot. But with AEW and everybody they brought in, he's a guy that easily can slide by the wayside.
Yeah, and it's going to take him some time to get there. Two guys that are already there, Malachi Black and Cody Rhodes. And I think the biggest thing that came out of this match was, of course, Black won. Cody Rhodes got booed out of the building. I mean, wow. That was unreal. And I'm still trying to figure out what happened. And Joe, I'm curious to get your thoughts on what happens when you have a match where you've said, this guy's your heel, this guy's your babyface. You've got a hot crowd, and all of a sudden, whoa, we got a little flipsy doodle going on here. How do you handle that, and how do you handle that going forward now that Cody Rhodes he just got destroyed in there?
Well, Cody's fine being a heel to begin with. The guy's been in and out, and in a lot of situations, Cody's the guy that people feel if they're going to blame somebody for something in AEW, Cody was more of the face of management along with Jericho and the Young Bucks. But, somehow the Young Bucks have avoided any of that. And Malachi Black, a lot of people in WWE, fans, felt that this guy could have been a breakout star and never really got that opportunity. And he's come in, and he's a very fresh face. Cody's been doing it forever, and it's like, there's Cody again. The new guy comes in, and Cody's going to go after him. They bring in Lance Hoyt. Cody's going to go after him and take him out. And, it's that backlash. And now, Cody's like number one on that list for the backlash.
Yeah, and, honestly, I think Cody's been very fair on his bookings in AEW. So I was a little surprised, but I think it's more people like Black too. So we also had FTR and Sting against Darby Allin on that card that night, and I'm just gonna say it. Sting looked really good. Sting looked good, and obviously he's in there with three of the best. But you would have had to been concerned going into this match with the speed of Darby Allin and the incredible tag team work that FTR does. That Sting was just gonna fall apart in this one. He did the exact opposite. I thought he looked pretty amazing. So
iron sharpens iron.
I'll tell you what, everybody talks about Tony Khan and, he's a mark. Again, we're all marks. We all love wrestling and stuff, but they really are building stuff. But the thing is, it's like people expect, AEW and the ratings. It took WCW forever with the better product to overtake WWE. And then when WWE got hot, it took them forever to come back and beat WCW. So it's going to take them a while. I think they're doing much better than I thought they would, because there were so many, chefs in the kitchen that I thought it was going to be really difficult, but they seem to be, doing pretty well. Do I think they still have, way too many guys on the roster? Do they have way too many YouTube shows? Absolutely. But, the stuff they're putting on TV, when Brian Cage can't even see the light of day, that's a pretty talented roster.
Yeah, I agree. Agreed. And then Britt Baker went over against Ruby Soho on Wednesday night. So that wrapped up.
She goes over everybody. Whatever.
I like Britt. I think that's a match that'll come later. It did seem a little
seemed too
rushed.
sudden. I don't think Ruby Soho is big enough that she should have been challenging right away.
Yeah, but she's going to be hanging around.
I think Adam Cole should put her in her place, I think.
There you go.
Don't he?
And then on Friday, they had, just real quick, CM Punk, good match with Powerhouse Hobbs. Hobbsy a little nervous at the start, but did a pretty good job, I thought. Young Bucks, Adam Cole against Jurassic Express and Christian. Kind of expected the Click to win that. Solid match. Men of the Year against Jericho and Hager, with all the MMA guys coming in and beating the crap out of them. Yikes. Yeah. But wasn't real excited about that one.
Le Champion.
Then we had the Hardy family office against Lucha Brothers, Santana and Ortiz. That was about what you expected, night of a match of crazy spots. But I'm going to ask Joe about a couple in there.
I was going to say, Jack Hager's still there?
Yeah, Jake Hager's still around.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Jack Swagger, Jake
Hager. Yeah, that's right. I forget his name now. It was like,
I don't think Dutch Mantel's hanging out with him anymore, though.
Man, I thought, wow, getting Swagger was going to be a big deal. It's like, man, he's another one that it's like, oh, I forgot he's even on the roster half the time.
Anna J. Penelope Ford gets a win, kind of okay match. Brutal match with Suzuki Gun taking on Moxley and Kingston. Homicide shows up at the end. I wasn't that excited about it, but a good match.
New York guy, so he's going to be there. Something like that
the hardcore fans are going to dig it, and that's what's also great about AEW compared to WWE. Like, who's coming in, all that stuff. AEW can just pull somebody that you see on Impact, you see on Ring of Honor, anytime, New Japan, and they could just show up. And that's what's needed in wrestling, because everybody knows almost everything that's going on. And AEW still can provide that element of surprise.
Yeah, and some more excitement there. Raw actually did beat them in the ratings.
Well, of course they did.
And this week's
by
Raw,
100th of a point.
This week's Raw was actually one of the better Raws in a long time.
Yeah, it was good Raw. We're going to get to that. But one thing that bothered me, and it bothered me on a little bit in All Out and bothered me here, the spots on, Jim Cornette calls them the obvious cooperation spots, where, for example, in that Hardy family office match, 4 guys on one team are standing outside the ring, the other 4 jump on them all at the same time, and it looks good, but if you're in a fight, are you going to do that? And it was my one complaint about the Bucks Lucha Dragons match, that they did that little super kick circle where one of them super kicked one, and then you went to the next guy super kicked the next guy, and they went all the way around. And Joe, one thing I'm curious about is with spots like that, when I see it, it kind of takes me out of the match a little bit.
Right. It makes me roll my eyes.
Yeah, and I and that's a Young Bucks style thing. They do stuff in their like that in their matches all the time. There's a lot of really cool coordinated stuff that they do too that looks great. But when I see things like that, I just go, ugh. And I come back out of the fact that I'm supposed to be believing this is not a scripted fight. And so, I mean, Joe, what do you think when you see those kind of things going on? And how do you, when you guys teach those kind of things in your school, how do you approach that?
We had an issue Friday night. So we had our guy, he won the cash in the case, which is totally different from Money in the Bank. Okay. So Remy Marcel's our Nevada state champion. He wrestles in a 4-way, 3 really good guys. He ends up, reversing something, wins the match 1, 2, 3. The guy he beat attacks him. His group, the Suavecitos, come in. They beat him down. Now, all of a sudden, Class's music hits, and now he's looking at the crowd, and he's jawing at him, and he stops to talk to the Suavecitos. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? It's like you're going to win the championship, and you're just milking time. The idea is you're taking advantage of the situation. And when it comes to the other one, it's like Disco Inferno always kind of taught. Like the one thing he taught was selling. And, a lot of they talk about is how these old-time wrestlers, they don't get it. And it's like the idea is it's still the same story. And when you're hitting 50 dueling super kicks and it doesn't affect you, it kind of takes people out of, the match, out of the show. And there's all different things that do that. And, it's hard sometimes because you got to remember a lot of the AEW guys, this is the first time they've ever been on TV. Mm-hmm. They're used to doing whatever they want on the indie shows. They want to be the cool guys, even though they're heels. They want to be cheered because they want to, they only made $75, so they need to sell 5 T-shirts. So they got to have some people like them. So they got to do cool stuff. And everybody's trying to out-cool the other guy instead of the way it was set up from first match to last match. You build the show. It's like a match, right? Except it's a 8-match show, a 9-match show that you're building from the beginning to the middle to the end, while the wrestlers are going out there trying to impress whoever, and they think they have to do as much cool stuff as they can possibly do because they got to impress people.
Yeah, and it just and Fish, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but when I see those spots where I've seen AEW and it happens on WWE too, obviously, but I remember one match where I saw 7 guys outside the ring. And they just all clumped together, and then someone did a dive on him. I'm like, come on. That's not going to happen. If you're in a fight, if I'm in a fight, you're not all going to congregate
in one area.
And then all of a sudden, this one guy managed to get away, and then
and the 6-man tag match to open Raw this past Monday. When Bobby Lashley comes down, you can see Xavier Woods not only stand at the ring, but he stands there and he's looking around because you can see him waiting for Roman Reigns to get into position to spear him. Mm-hmm. So he's trying to just buy time, but it looks so silly because he's just standing there like kind of looking at Lashley, but not really. And then he looks back and realizes, oh, now Roman's ready, so I can turn around. And it turns around and takes a spear. But it's the same sort of thing. It takes you out of the reality of the match.
Yeah, and I guess maybe I'm a little old school on that, but I just wish they would take those spots and just, trash can, gone.
I sit there and I watch, and I don't understand. I'm a wrestling fan. Like, But to me, it's like, how many of those spots really look good? Like a suicide dive. It's like, it's kind of, it's kind of clunky. You dive through, you're hoping you're not hitting the second rope when you land. You hit the guy, and he bounces into the guardrail. And I don't really see much excitement in it, but I see it 7 times on a show, and I keep not understanding why people believe it's such a cool spot.
Yeah, Finn Balor did that at the end of SmackDown, too. He did the same sort of dive.
When Darby Allin does it, Darby Allin's looks good because he is moving at a high velocity. It really looks like he's doing damage to somebody. When you see somebody just kind of, woo, here I go, and you're like,
yeah,
I would just stand there and smack him upside the head and jump out of the way.
See, I always love when Roman Reigns does it because he's such a big guy, and to see him be able to jump over the top rope and do the dive without touching the rope has always, to me, been amazing because of his size.
Right. Yeah, so you can buy some of that if a larger guy does a spot like that. Like, oh, I don't want that guy landing on me from 12, 14 feet up.
Right,
I'll pass.
but guys are so athletic now that you see those guys flip over the top rope and do some super cool stuff. That suicide dive is the blandest of them all. But for some reason, but the thing is, a lot of those guys aren't good enough to do these crazy flips over the top rope. But when you see it, it's kind of like, that's kind of boring. It's like, well, I just saw Darby Allin do something super cool. Why do I need to do something that isn't? But that's what they do, and it's like tried and true. 5 guys stand there holding on to each other, waiting for a guy who takes too long to get to the top rope to do a moonsault.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And you can see them all standing outside, looking, waiting, like they're staring up, going, "Okay, come on, do your jump.
Come on, let's go." And it just. Part of the fun of wrestling is you're suspending reality. And when you do things that there's a point where, you can coordinate some cool stuff. Like they did, they did in the Young Bucks match, and they did in the 8-man match on the Grand Slam shows. But
a lot of times our guys, I'll hear a little bit of when they're trying to do something different out of the box, and I'm there and they're trying to present it. It's like, they only look at that one spot that they want to do and how it's going to be, and I try to make it the entire book. And okay, well, if you're going to do this, this, and this, why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. They're not looking at the overall thing; they're looking at the one spot. And it's like, that's the problem with a lot of the younger guys. They see one cool thing, or they see a YouTube video and they saw somebody in New Japan do it, or somebody in Ring of Honor, and they think it's going to be great.
Yeah, and I think AEW has gotten better about that, and that's one of the reasons I like seeing with CM Punk being in there, Bryan Danielson being in there. You kind of got some people that are pulling you away from the Young Bucks style, and not that it's bad. It's just that not everybody can do it, and like you said, Joe, people are mimicking it, but they're not. They're
not the right people to do it.
They're not the right people to do it. Darby Allin could do
variety, things. You don't need 8 matches of exactly the same stuff. That's why a Brian Pillman can succeed there. Everybody's. You can't have 9 Young Buck matches on the show because then it just gets complacent. Who cares?
No, and they kind of tried that for a while when they were first getting everybody together and
early on, because that's what they were used to.
Yeah. But I think they've done a really good job tempering that back.
Yeah, they found their footing.
Yeah. So
I joke about Christian and Mark Henry and Big Show and all the 50-year-olds, but those are the guys that they need. Like, to me, Christian, whether he's an active performer or not, I could care less at this point. But having him back there as a voice, because he's a guy who's different than Mark Henry and the Big Show and a Dean Malenko and all those guys, where Christian was the guy who they did the spotty stuff. Mm-hmm. But him back there having the knowledge to take the guys like Jungle Boy, who are very inexperienced. Jungle Boy, we used him before he got signed, and he never really got a chance to grow on the indies because once he got signed, he wasn't able to work a lot of shows. So here's a guy who's not really working shows. He's not really training, so he's only going out on his indie instincts. And sometimes those have to be weaned in.
Yep, absolutely. This is why we have Joe DeFalco around.
Absolutely.
He's all right.
He's brilliant.
I should be like a coach.
You're brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
I think
know?
people should go to Future
Somebody
Stars
hire
of
me,
Wrestling.
Impact, Ring of Honor.
They should go to
How do they let this knowledge not be taken?
They should go to fswvegas.com and check out the training academy.
No question.
I think that would be a great idea. All right, we're getting ready to head to break here. Just want to remind everybody, if you want to follow us on the show, go to markhokeshow.podbean.com, and you can find Mark Hoke Show on YouTube as well. We got all the shows up there. At Mark Hoke Show on Facebook, Mark Hoke Show on Twitter, just kind of everywhere.
You did that backwards, by the way.
Did I? It's Sunday. It's okay. God. Thanks, Vinny. All right. So with that, we are going to take a break. We're going to come back, take a quick look at the Dark Side of the Ring episode, Raw and SmackDown.
Extreme Rules.
Oh, and then we got Extreme Rules. We got to make our predictions on that and the snap call. So stick around, everybody. We'll be right back on the Mark Hoke Show. Thanks for joining us.
1015 FM, 720 AM. KDON, the talk of Las Vegas.
This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Here again, your host, Mark Hoke.
You can't get rid of me. Well, you can about 9 o'clock.
Yeah, thank goodness. I mean, yeah, what a shame.
Wow.
But I will say this, and you just said it off the air, and I want to make sure he knows it. That's why this show is better than any other wrestling show, because we have the brain of Joe, and that's not the kind of stuff, the insight you can get anywhere. We learn how they learn, and that's, to me, a huge difference.
We love you, Joe.
Well, I'm going to be a free agent soon, so you talk to my agent about negotiating a new deal.
Oh, good Lord.
Who else teaches wrestling in town?
He has a 90-day no-compete, so you can't be on another podcast for 90 days.
There you go. We're kicking
Actually,
in.
there was an error in clerical. It's only 30.
Oh, okay.
Oh, God, I gotta get the WWE team out of there. Andrew Fish, Fain, Joe DeFalco. I'm Mark Hoke. Thanks for being with us. Welcome back to the Mark Hoke Show. I wanted to talk a little bit about this Dark Side of the Ring episode with Chris Kanyon.
Who better than Kanyon?
Well, that is subjective, but and obviously
The Mortis character was ahead of its time.
yeah, I think so. But this is where I always had the problem with Kanyon. I just didn't. I was just like, you know,
Who better than Canyon? Come on.
See?
When he did DD Me, that was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, he did some good stuff. I mean,
Absolutely.
Don't get me wrong, but like I never tuned into a show, said, "Oh, I can't wait to see that Chris Kanyon match."
Well, yeah. Well, no,
You know,
because they first started. First, the whole thing was Mortis and Glacier, and I'm like, I don't need to see Glacier.
And the thing with me on that whole thing, and Kanyon did some great work in that, but like Glacier, I was, look, we're
could
doing
not
our
care
Mortal
about him.
Kombat thing,
Yeah,
and then by default, I was like,
no, absolutely.
More importantly, Chris Kanyon also choreographed the WCW movie they did when I forgot what it was called. With
Ready to Rumble.
Ready to Rumble.
With David Arquette,
So,
the WCW champion.
I know some people, a guy like Brian Cage. There's some guys I know who worshipped Kanyon.
Yes,
Like
you can see
the
that on the
nicest
show.
guy in the world. And again, everybody can't. We only see what the WCW hierarchy want you to see about Kanyon. Most people outside or inside the business who knew him, consider him like he was extremely innovative for a guy his size and doing, offensive moves that a lot of people just don't even, realize. I got a chance to meet him once at the WCW Nitro Grill, and, we did an interview. And it was a pretty interesting one because he was very open to like what he felt WCW was lacking with WWE, and was more than open to like, what he felt that they could do. And he had a lot of really good ideas that, of course, nobody would listen to.
Right.
But, as a person, Brian Cage, Disco, Raven, those guys have nothing but great things, and this was years ago about him before he took his own life.
Yeah, I mean, and what a sad life he led behind the scenes.
Absolutely, and sometimes those they obviously they hide it. You don't know you don't. I mean, it's going to sound silly, but you don't know what you don't know.
For those that didn't see the show, obviously, number one, he was hiding that he was gay forever, and then also was dealing with bipolar, like really bad. Like he's got his best friend who's his manager and beating him up every once in a while, just out of the blue. And
see, what's funny is if that story happened now, he would have been able to get a lot more help and been a lot more accepted than what it was. And that was just 20 years ago. I mean, it wasn't like it was 50 years ago. It was only like 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think this, if Kanyon's wrestling now, the story ends very differently. But of course, John Cena and Ric Flair got, I think, a little
Ric Flair's getting killed right now.
But Cena and Flair, of course, Chris Kanyon was doing a lot of work with the Howard Stern show. They had John Cena on, and Stern asked him a question. Well, Kanyon said that he got fired from WWE because he was gay, and Cena just said no. It was just because I don't think he was that good. And then they had Ric Flair on at the same time with Kanyon on the Howard Stern show, and Flair.
Well, they didn't have him on. Flair called in.
Well, they had him called. However, it was arranged, but they got into it, and Flair was just saying, you aren't that good. You're high. You're overlooking your shortcomings, and obviously I'm sure that didn't help the situation. But then everybody's screaming, "Cancel Cena, cancel Flair." I'm like, oh my god. They were just stating their opinion, and plus you're on the Howard Stern show. It's it's an entertainment show,
and it happened. But it happened 20 plus years ago. It's not like,
come on. This wasn't like what happened on the plane ride from hell thing.
Right.
That we didn't know what happened. I mean,
this was out. I mean, it was on the show 20 years ago. They shouldn't be getting killed for it now.
No.
Well, right. And it wasn't, they were like talking about, hey, we're doing a thing for Kanyon who died, and now they're all ripping the dude. This is when that issue came out. And it's like, you know what? You can find 1,000 guys. Scott Steiner had nothing but bad things to say about Ric Flair. If as Steiner said, in a promo on WCW, if his buddies were the bookers, he'd be the champ 15 times too.
Yeah, good point.
And it's like there's so much ego battles and the cliques in that especially back then, if you weren't in the right clique, if they do one on Shawn Michaels in the clique, they may get canceled.
I'm sure I almost think they have to do one on that. But it's funny because that curtain call changed the entire face of wrestling, because it's because of that curtain call that the booking changed, that Steve Austin was able to win the King of the Ring in '96, and that's how the whole Stone Cold and Austin 316 all that started. So it really changed the face of wrestling, because I think Triple H was booked to win that King of the Ring.
Yes, he was. So
and imagine hearing the stories that most people haven't heard, that basically the clique tried to see if they could get Candido to kill himself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
while Michaels was banging his girl.
Yeah, see, I always knew that Hall and Nash were not the nicest of guys.
Yeah. That is for sure. Well, speaking of not nice guys, I did want to mention this while we're in the depressing stuff, and then we'll get back to the fun. The Undertaker also got in a little bit of trouble this week.
Rene Dupree just needs to be quiet and go away.
Rene Dupree on that 90s Wrestling podcast interview and said that the Undertaker bullied him, said he didn't go out to the bar, and first they took his $500 shoes, $1,000 suit, and ruined in a shower.
That was the rite of passage back in those days.
Yes, it was.
Right,
exactly.
Wrong, different, and that's how it was.
Yep.
Joe, I'm with you. I love you, Joe, because you're brilliant and you're right on.
Okay, let me finish this, and then I want to jump back into that point. Then he said, what really bothered me was when in Italy the next night they took my French flag, my heritage, they shoved it in a toilet and pissed and blanked all over it. So he said that was really hurtful. He said, I went to Arn Anderson, who's the agent, and he said, don't sell it. And then he went to the Undertaker, who apparently was behind all this, and I said, what do you do when someone does this to you? And he goes, well, you find out who does it. And then he found out that he was the one that ordered everybody to do this
Well,
stuff.
then he should have beat the crap out of the Undertaker, which probably wouldn't have happened. But if he did, he would have got that respect in that locker room, and everybody would have left him alone.
Yeah, that was back when he was part of the, what was it, Bone Street Crew? Is that what it was called? It was him and
Yeah, the BSK,
Yokozuna.
yeah.
Yeah, the BSK or whatever.
It was their answer.
Godwin, and
it was their answer to the
I've
Click.
heard plenty of good stories of those guys.
Oh, well, we'll have time at some point, I'm sure.
Who wants to help me write a book?
I do. I'm in. I majored in journalism. I got you.
There you go. So Undertaker caught a little flack for another 20-year-old bullying story while we were.
See, it's funny because there's so much respect heaped on the Undertaker, and rightfully so, that I hear a story like that and I automatically go, just shut up, Rene Dupree. I side with the Undertaker. Whereas if it's someone that I don't have that same respect for, I tend to believe the guy that was hurt in the process.
Now, and I think people have to realize times changed. If somebody did this in WWE now, probably wouldn't.
It wouldn't go over well.
Would not go over well. But
I got an interesting phone call the other day from Netflix.
Oh yeah,
the guy who did a wrestling promotion before me that came in, Buffalo Jim, if anybody recalls him.
No relation to Buffalo Bob
or Buffalo Bill.
They're trying to do a unsolved mysteries. And Buffalo had a lot of friends in the WWF back in the day. They used to come visit them to say hi and, get some nice goodie bag from them, So it's kind of like interesting to see how they want to do the wrestling in there. There's a lot of craziness with WWF wrestlers and Buffalo Jim and stuff.
Yep. So, real quick, I do want to mention a couple things that happened Raw, SmackDown. We have new ladies tag team champions.
Yawn.
Yeah.
As another not thrown together at the last minute for a few weeks team. WWE never does that.
Right,
wins the title.
And then on SmackDown, Tegan Knox and Shotzi come out again and shoot the tank. It's like, stop. Just stop. To be honest with you, the addition of those titles, I see why they did it. It doesn't do any good. It doesn't mean anything.
If you don't have established teams, it doesn't work. Now, I thought it was cool. Like Tamina and Natty winning the titles was pretty awesome.
Right, and if the Bellas were still there, which were an established team, I get it. But throwing
the Iconics, oh God, why they let them go?
But throwing two women together and going, okay, you're a tag team now, go ahead and fight. It's like, come on, just stop.
Yeah. So that happened.
Sadly.
But it looks like we're setting up for Extreme Rules with Finn Balor.
Although Montez Ford.
So what are the rules, by the way?
They're extreme. There's only one Extreme Rules match, and that's.
Yeah, I'm a little confused on all this, but
the Balor Reigns is the only Extreme Rules match, correct?
Apparently so. I have the card right here.
So why don't they just call it a regular card with one match?
If you guys would like to go through and let's get our predictions before we get to the snap call.
I got to hear what Joe has to say because,
Well, I was just going to say, they also have a Money in the Bank pay-per-view. They don't have 7 Money in the Bank matches.
No, but the Money in the Bank match itself lasts a while. They don't have 7 Elimination Chamber matches either, but you at least got 2. You have 1 Extreme Rules match? I mean, there's not even a chairs match.
Half should be some sort of stipulation.
Yes. But I want to hear Joe's prediction so I can see how wrong I'm going to be when I go against him.
I need to hear what the card is because I have no idea.
All right, so here we go. Liv Morgan, who, by the way, lost to Zelina Vega.
Which shocked me more than anything on Friday night.
Thanks to, I guess, Carmella helping out a little bit. Liv Morgan is taking on Carmella, so, Liv takes a loss going into this. Liv Morgan and Carmella. Fish.
Oh, Liv takes her down. I think there's no question Liv wins this match.
Joe?
Yeah, I think it should be a loser leaves town and they have a draw.
Wow.
I like them both, but yeah, Liv is going to win this one. We have the Usos, the Raw Tag Team, SmackDown Tag Team Champs, taking on the Street Profits. This has been building for a while. So, Fish?
I was telling you, ask Joe first. I want to hear Joe's opinion.
Oh, you want to hear Joe's opinion first? Okay, Joe.
Well, I guess the Usos are going to have to go over, but, they have held the title for almost, 2 months. So that in WWE world, that's like 7 years. So they may just want to, switch the belts. That way they got somebody to drop the belts next week after they win them tonight.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the Usos do go over. I'd like to see the Street Profits win because I like the work they're doing, especially Montez Ford. I think the dude's athleticism is out of the world.
Who makes his first appearance and he helps the Usos win?
I think that could very well happen.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I got the Usos on this one too. We have a triple threat for the U.S. Championship. Damian Priest, the champion, takes on Sheamus and Jeff Hardy. So Hardy decided after a week of chasing the 24/7 title, he's going after the U.S. title.
I think they made it a triple threat, so they're the triple threat rules. So Drew McIntyre can come down, turn heel, and help Sheamus. Sheamus wins the match because of Drew McIntyre's help.
Wow. All right. Joe?
I like that idea. That's a good one, actually. I think they're like, they don't want Sheamus to take another pin, so they'll throw Jeff Hardy in there to lose.
That's also a very good point, too.
I think Damian Priest walks out with the title.
I think
not a bad
that's
idea.
what I'm saying. Yeah, Jeff Hardy takes the pin.
Yeah, I think he
Damian
pins Hardy. Yeah.
We have, and this was
but I like the idea of Drew better.
See, we got it all.
Yeah.
We should be booking this stuff, man. Charlotte Flair will be defending the Raw Women's Championship against Alexa Bliss. The controversial Playhouse segment where some people supposedly walked out and then they didn't, and whatever. Good reporting there. But Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. Does Little Miss Bliss and Lily walk out with the title?
Normally, under normal circumstances, I say Charlotte wins this match. But because of what Charlotte did, ripping the head off the doll, then going after Lily, some weird supernatural BS is going to happen that's going to help Alexa win. So I think Alexa wins. I don't know if she wins the title, but maybe by count out DQ or something. But Alexa will win this match.
The ghost of Bray Wyatt returns, and Alexa Bliss wins.
Yeah, Bo Dallas comes back as Bray Wyatt.
There you go. It's a lot cheaper.
Bray Wyatt light.
I'm staying with Charlotte Flair. Every time I pick Charlotte, I'm usually good, so I'm going to stay with that. Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's Championship.
What a card!
Yeah,
it should be dealt with.
Joe, who you got on this one?
I got to go with Becky Lynch. They put the belt on her. But I really feel that this match will go way longer than 22 seconds.
Yeah.
That's my prediction.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That was going to be exactly what I said. I think longer than 26 seconds, but I think they keep the belt on Becky.
That way they'll still bury her, but she'll lose in 12 minutes instead.
And then they won't be as racist because they had a white woman winning over the African American girl. That was.
Yeah, I know.
That was the cry as soon as Belair losses. They're racist.
Can't be saying that on the radio airwaves. It'll come back to haunt you in 2053.
Yeah, there you go. I've got Becky Lynch winning this one too. We're all on the same page on this. And then the intriguing match of the night. It shouldn't be intriguing in a lot of ways, but I have a feeling there may be some shenanigans and hijinks going on as Roman Reigns defends the Universal title against the Demon Finn Balor. It is an Extreme Rules match for the Universal Championship. Joe, who is walking out with the title? Let's just say
Finn
that
Balor
first.
should be walking back to NXT, so Reigns should. But I guess if they want to do some kind of craziness, like, now they can have Goldberg beat Lashley in Saudi Arabia and whatever, but Roman Reigns should win.
I think the big thing here, and it's the fact that they keep mentioning that the Demon is undefeated. And I think that's the way it stays. I think I think it's Brock Lesnar has the interference. I think Brock Lesnar makes an appearance here and helps the Demon win. And I think, it could go either way. He could help the Demon win because he's screwing Roman Reigns, or he could help Roman Reigns win so his battle with Roman Reigns could be still for the title.
So you said the Demon's undefeated. What is he, like 146-0 or 3-0?
I think he's 3-0.
Yeah, I think so.
Just making sure if it isn't like the
Goldberg undefeated
Joe
streak.
DiMaggio hitting streak.
Would not be surprised if there's some sort of crazy swerve tonight, but I will take Roman Reigns to win this match.
What crazy
If
swerve are
he
you?
loses tonight, that is a travesty of the entire storyline that they put together with him.
Well, it's not like WWE isn't good about making travesties out of storylines.
To be atrocious. It's like Finn Balor has come back with great, he's the demon now, but nobody has he hasn't been hot at all for 5 years.
It's as pointless as what they did when they just threw Cesaro in a one-off match with Roman Reigns. Cesaro put on a great match at what was it, Backlash, WrestleMania Backlash, and lost. It was like they didn't do anything because now you don't even see Cesaro anymore.
Yeah.
There's no rub, and it's always like, oh, you give this guy the title shot, and even though in defeat, it builds him up. No, it doesn't build anybody up. There's no rub. It's how it's perceived by the fans, and nobody believes Finn Balor can win. And if he does win, it's like, oh, okay, so they must be setting something else up for him, and then he's going to lose it back in a couple months when they've done what they wanted to do. Like Reigns and Lesnar's the money match for the title, so why would they go any other way? There's literally no reason to do it.
Which is why I was so upset they booked this match to begin with. Is it was obvious that you can't have Balor win because you have Reigns versus Lesnar for the title. So why even bother putting a match in there?
Right.
And then we see what they did. They had Goldberg beat Bray Wyatt. That was in Saudi Arabia.
Well,
obviously.
maybe they'll learn a lesson, but we're gonna keep things out of Saudi Arabia, and we're going to kind of do a little swerve of our own, as it's time for the Snap Call.
Because we like to make our guests squirm and suffer, let's put them through the toughest grind in professional wrestling. Get ready, everyone. It's time for the Snap Call.
Oh, going to the danger zone. Ooh, yeah. I'll ask the boys some questions. They get a few choices, and they're going to snap those answers off, especially since it's 8:54. All right. First one, we'll just lead in. We'll just go where we were going. If Reigns would lose tonight at Extreme Rules, how should it happen? Lesnar cleans his clock, The Rock makes a surprise appearance, or the New Day buries him in demon-shaped pancakes with syrup. Fish.
New Day buries him demon-shaped pancakes and syrup.
There you go, Joe.
I just want to see The Rock come back.
That would be a shocker, wouldn't it? What will Ric Flair be getting the Dark Side of the Ring guys for Christmas? Obviously, Rick probably not.
A picture of him in a robe.
A visit from the Charlotte Mafia, an all-expense-paid vacation in Afghanistan, or a helicopter. Fish.
Helicopter.
Joe.
Yeah, I'll give him a helicopter.
Don't think we're talking about the one that's a whirling bird. Most intriguing opponent for CM Punk out of the three I picked. Pac, MJF, or Colt Cabana?
If I never see Colt Cabana again, it'll be too soon. Pac would be I think would be the most intriguing. MJF would be great, but I would love to see Pac versus CM Punk.
Joe?
Yeah, I'd love to see Pac murder CM Punk.
Ooh, that would be a great match.
The former Neville, I think, is so underused, even still.
But I think it'd be fun to Colt.
Of course he is.
It'd be fun to have Colt Cabana have to get.
Well, he can never catch a flight from England to Florida. It's a really tough connection, from what I hear.
Stop over in Iceland.
Oh my God! What should WWE do with Alexa Bliss's playground gimmick? Light the playground on fire. Stay where it is, or just go full-blown sacrificial goddess nightmare. Fish.
Full-blown sacrificial
just
goddess nightmare.
Just go for it. Joe?
Yeah, I'll go with the first one.
Yeah, I want the playground lit on fire. I'm so tired of it. As the AEW roster stands right now, who would be the best choice to win the Owen Hart Cup that they've now teamed up with AEW and the Owen Hart Foundation?
Okay, I saw a tweet about that. People pissed off that because Owen Hart's a WWE guy and now they're making it an AEW thing. Yeah. But okay, I didn't want to know what it was about. Now I know. Okay.
All right, I have a bunch of choices and you can go off the board. CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Brian Pillman Jr., Adam Cole, Jungle Boy, MJF.
Ooh.
I'm going with Jungle Boy.
I think Jungle Boy gets the best rub out of winning it. But I think Bryan Danielson should be the guy to win the inaugural one because he's the best wrestler out of the bunch.
I would go towards Jungle Boy, but boy, if MJF won the Owen Hart Cup. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I can imagine the promos you can cut on the Hart family.
Oh no, yeah. Ooh.
Oh, that would be something. Last one. Match we'd really like to see on Extreme Rules tonight. Drake Maverick versus Omos in a stilts and stay on your knees match. Shane Thorne versus Braun Breaker versus Joe Gacy versus T-Bar in a winner gets a real gimmick match. Or Vince and Bruce Pritchard versus Triple H in a you don't run NXT anymore match.
I want all three of them on the card.
I just made the new card. Which one, Fish?
The second one.
We got the win a real gimmick.
Yes.
Joe?
I wanted to see Rick Boogs on the card. So
Rick Boogs.
He's got a gimmick, though. It's doing
The denim.
Which one do you want, Joe? Out of those three, which one do you want?
the third. That way they can, we can fully know for sure Triple H and HBK are out.
Yeah. So sad. All right, boys. There's your snap call. Gentlemen, you made it. Fish is over here dying.
They're working the heart attack angle. That's why they took over NXT. That was the reason, not because they wanted to, but because of the issues that Triple H had.
Exactly.
There you go. All right, boys. Well, that is going to close it out.
Before we do close out, really quick, I want to say, Joe, congratulations on an amazing show on Friday. I've heard just great good things about it. You're fantastic.
Thank you. It's good to get out of the FSW arena at times, and it's good that the fans come out and support. And we'll be back there in November. No Escape and 3 steel cage matches. So we'll talk about that when that comes up.
Yeah, there we go.
Cash in the case.
All right, for Andrew Fish Fain, Joe DeFalco, I'm Mark Hoke. Thank you for being with us for another edition of the Mark Hoke Show. We'll have that podcast up soon on podbean.com, markhokeshow.podbean.com. Get that thing up on YouTube too. Check out the channel. Thanks for being around for another fantastic afternoon or morning here in Las Vegas.
Woo!
Rick Boogs. All right, boys. Have a great rest of your weekend, guys.